If you're a Gen X woman or a millennial woman, even, and you have a book idea in you, or you have several book ideas in you, and you're struggling to narrow that down, or maybe the process of publishing is a bit too cumbersome and complicated to you, join me for the Spring Forward Writers Retreat coming up Thursday, March 13th to Sunday, March 16th, 2025, in sunny Orlando, Florida. We're going to guide you through the process of writing your book, and by the end of the weekend, have you walking away with a completed one. So you go from aspiring author to actual official author. We fully demystify the process for you. We take away the confusion. We take away any tech challenges because we're walking you by the hand to get these things done and sharing with you the tools that we published authors have used to get it done and get on bookshelves. And we also teach you how to get on the bestsellers list as well. So we're not just having you walk away with a draft and you're like, okay, now what? You're going to walk away with the draft and the next steps you need to market your book effectively and become a best-selling author. So don't wait. This is coming up very soon. So sign up today. Go to springforwardretreat.com. And for the month of February, you can use the promo code BHM to get 20% off your ticket. So spots are limited. Get your spot now. Go to springforwardretreat.com to get your spot. What I love about February and March together is that they're both history months. And so February is Black History Month. March is Women's History Month, which is why that date was so important to me. Like, the Holy Spirit gave me that date, like the March 15th, and then we built the experience around the 15th. But March is Women's History Month, and we're reaching out to Gen X women to use their voice to get those books out of them so that they can make history. You can make history yourself. You can be a part of that yourself. Good evening, my winners and goal getters. Welcome to another episode of the Getting the Win Show. I am your host, Mellissa T, the procrastination bully. Today's episode is slightly different. In this episode, the one and only L. David Harris is back on the show. The only difference is things flip a little something, something. So LD is actually interviewing me on this show, and we're getting into it as it relates to helping authors get their books done. And of course, we're talking about the Spring Forward Writers Retreat, which is right around the corner. If you haven't gotten your spot yet, go to springforwardretreat.com to get your spot. And of course, be sure to like, share, subscribe, follow, all that fun stuff on this. So you can click the subscribe button on YouTube, subscribe at Getting the Win, and follow me on Instagram, Pinterest, and Threads at Getting the Win Show. Of course, hit that like button to let the algorithm know. You know what I'm saying? Let other people who may not otherwise come across this content know that it is here, it exists, and can help them. So I would greatly appreciate it if you like, share, subscribe, and comment. Leave a comment. And trust me, LDH is going to tell you to put some stuff in the comments today. All right. But enjoy this convo. He asked me some pretty cool questions and got some stuff out of me that I probably otherwise may not have thought to say. So hopefully you enjoy this, and you know what I mean, hopefully this answers some questions. Plus there's a nice little announcement towards the end of the video, so be sure to watch all the way through to the end. All right, but enjoy this. Be blessed.
Okay. Okay, like I'm unhinged today. I'm unhinged, but it's for a good cause. Definitely. So welcome to the I said getting. See, I said it right. Getting the Win Show. And Mellissa T really is the host. You already know that. But I just decided that I was going to take over, except she gave me permission. So did I really take over? Yeah, my name is L. David Harris, but some people call me LD. So let's just go with that. And one of the reasons that we're doing this show this way is because there's some stuff in Melissa's bosom that we all need, and we're going to drag it out of her, except she's going to give it willingly. Oh my goodness. So, hey, Mellissa T, welcome to your own show. How you
Right.
doing?
What's up, LD? Thank you so much. I appreciate the takeover. I look forward to this.
This is good. So I did a thing, and I'm not going to front like you never heard part of the thing, but the people need to hear the thing, right? So
Right.
I'm going to share something with y'all that nobody's ever heard except Mellissa T and a couple of our closest friends. So here it is, just a little bit of it. And then you'll understand why we're doing this show this way.
Pages turn and worlds unfold. She paints the night and stories told. Dreams take flight with every line. Mellissa writes and hearts align. She spins the words, she weaves the fate. Lost in the tale she's born to create. Every chapter, every scene, a world alive, a living dream. Mellissa Thomas, pen in hand, building worlds just like she planned. Every hero, every fight, she brings the dark, she brings the light. It runs deep, the fire glows. Through every story, her spirit flows. Shadows whisper.
Now, I could run the whole thing, but I think I'll just pull it down right here. And that's really why we're together, because on my screen, I have like an old typewriter like my mom used to use when I was like, this was in the 80s. It had to be like 1980. And I used to wake up to this sound. Tung, 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 ding. Because she would hit the register return with her hand with this long, and then it was on carbon paper. It was a whole thing, like a whole production. And despite the fact that this style is passé now, like that's done, there's so much inside of you, and I've recognized it. And like, we have to get some of it out. Like, I guess we're twins or something.
For real.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah. So writing is in your core, but I'm sure it's not just the writing process. There's something that started you on your journey to communicate that stuff that only comes out through, I don't know, do you type or do you dictate? I don't even know which way you go, but.
Yeah, I type. I'm getting onto the dictate thing, but I much prefer typing.
Yeah, so there's something inside that the world needs, and it comes out. Like, it's come out more than 8 times, I know, but at least in your own books, you've, shared those 8 times. Like, what is the driver though? The driver, like, yeah, were you in the room by yourself and you said, there's some people out there that need me? Probably not, but yeah, tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yeah. It's evolved to that. Originally it was catharsis. I'm somebody that is very emotional. And once I learned poetry in 6th grade, it was a wrap after that. Like, I was the first person in my class when I stood up to read my poem, like everyone applauded. I was like, oh, this is a thing. Okay, I'll keep doing it then. Like, if it works, I'll keep doing it then. And because I'm also a hip hop head, like, I studied so much of lyricism. And of course, you and I are from that era when hip hop focused on lyricism. In the early days of hip hop, it focused on lyricism and poetics and rhyme and meter and those things. And yeah, I would just, whatever I was feeling, I would just put on the page. And then eventually, other members of my family started noticing that. So then there were opportunities to publicly read my poetry. And when I saw the impact it had on larger audiences, rooms of like a couple hundred people or something, I was like, oh. So that's when the focus went outward. Instead of just writing to get my feelings out, I began writing what I like to call tribute poems. And to this day, that's still a thing. There are folks that will commission a poem, whether it's for an anniversary or, in some cases, a funeral. They've lost a loved one, and they'll ask me to write a tribute poem. So it went from merely catharsis to catharsis and writing in honor of others. And then in terms of the fiction, like, once I got exposed to music videos in the 90s, because at that point we started seeing a lot of visual effects in music videos, I was like, I want to do something like that. And then it was a wrap when the first Matrix came out, because at that time we had never seen visual effects like that. So that's when I got into storytelling. And once I learned that, that's when the book started.
So catharsis becomes like empathetic writing almost,
Yes.
where my story and your story somehow intersects.
Hmm.
Interesting. Well, the one thing I do remember from grade 6 is the definition of a sonnet is a 14-line iambic pentameter. I still don't
Yes.
know what iambic means, and I don't know what pentameter means, but that definition stuck with me, like
Yes.
all these years later.
That's
Yeah.
because sonnets are the only time we ever hear iambic pentameter. Nobody is using that in everyday language ever.
Well, I'm in my
That
50s and I still don't use it.
that's me either. I never mastered Shakespearean sonnets either, especially pentameter, because that's writing in beats of five. I never mastered that. I
Yeah.
never mastered that.
Well, one thing you did master, though, is when you communicate intentionally, I hear the writer in you.
Thank you.
Like I hear it. And one of the unfortunate things I learned when I started going to writers' conferences, shh, not everybody's a writer.
Facts.
I
That's
was
facts.
I was blown. Like it threw me off. So this is what I want to talk about in just a second. Like I'm here at a writers' conference, and this was in about 2004.
Hmm.
And all of the great, well, that's exaggerating, but many of the greats in Christian writing and Christian fiction writers were there. And they said, okay, we're going to do an exercise with you. We want you to identify so-and-so's style. And I'm
Hmm.
like, I got this. I got it in the bag. And they named a really well-known Christian writer,
Hmm.
so-and-so. And I was like, first up, pop, I got it. And I said, this is that person's style. And I got laughed to scorn. Not the organizer, but the person leading said, oh, you think so-and-so actually writes that?
Mm.
And maybe you all can understand that today with AI and, PLR and all kind of private label rights stuff. Maybe you can understand that today. In 2004, I had no idea what the guy was laughing at.
Hmm.
And he said, no, they have excellent editors.
Yes.
And at the time, that individual had an army of editors that would put their stuff together. And boop, here comes another book. Boop, here comes another book. And I felt betrayed, Mellissa, because I was like, am I the only one out here like
Writing, like actually writing.
writing? Like, am I the only one? Like, what is this?
Hmm.
But it didn't change my perspective. So how do you deal with the fact that writing is not writing anymore, but you still write?
Oh, I don't mind that at all. And actually, for me, it's actually freeing for the people I'm talking to about getting their books done. I'm like, you don't have to worry about that part because trust me, I get it. Like, in the same way that numbers kind of are off putting for me because I'm not a numbers person. God bless the people that enjoy doing accounting and things like that. For some people, writing can be off putting because the laws of English grammar can be absolutely nerve numbing. Trust me, I get it. Like, LD and I, like, we know them. We're the ones that are called to wrangle with the laws of
I know whose
English grammar.
last name is Strunk. I have a
Exactly.
book with his last
Yes.
name on it.
Exactly. Mine is right behind me, bro. Like it's right
Look at
here.
that. See, you
And it's
see?
the old school one.
Right.
Strunk and white. Yes. So trust me, it's okay. We're the ones that study that stuff, so you don't have to. That's the point of that. So for me, LD, like when I first learned that, because I had to learn that difference as well, I was like, oh, first of all, there are people whose voice can be refined by their editor or editors. That's one. But two, there's also some people who get their stuff ghostwritten. So they don't write at all. They hire somebody to write for them and like they claim ownership of the words and they just pay a handsome sum of money for that person to do the writing for them. So for you watching, if that's something that intimidates you about getting your book done, you don't have to be a actual writer to be an author. There's a difference.
Oh, there's no question. And that's heartening to me, even though, like, I've actually had ghostwriters, and one of them said to me, but you're a writer. What do you need me for?
Mm-hmm.
This was way pre-AI, like way pre. And I was like, brother, like, I don't have this kind of time.
That.
I know when I communicate my voice to you, because I know what you do and you know what I do, I know what the result's going to be.
Yep.
So we have something going on here. So you have ghost written, and I'm just going to jump right in there. We're not even going to make a transition. Like, you've done ghost writing.
Mm-hmm.
You're also an editor, and you're a writer author, and an author who's a writer.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you love it?
I do. I honestly do. It's fun. Like, I'm about to get spiritual now, y'all. There's something to me that is akin to creation. Like, we know there's one creator, capital C. But since we are made in his likeness and image, we have the ability to make creations, if that makes sense. And there's no more tangible way to do that than through art. You take something that's in your head that is not tangible and you make it tangible by putting it on a page. And it's beautiful and fruitful when you see it completed. Even something as brief as a poem. It's satisfying.
Yeah. And the Bible actually opens up with the word.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And an allusion to that first text is in the New Testament that says, and the word became flesh.
Yep.
And dwelt among us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, wait a minute. So there is a way to communicate that may or may not be audible, that can live in as many people's minds as receive it. That's amazing. That's amazing. So what do you love the most to write? Even though I think I know because we've talked about it. Mm-hmm. What do you enjoy the most? Like, if you were in a fictitious cage, a fictional cage, and you were only allowed to write one kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And literally, there's no way out of this thing. You have to do it. Okay. What would that one thing be? Or is that just too pressing to answer?
No, I can answer that. It would likely be a mystery thing, and it would definitely have a lot of action in it because I'm a big action person. Remember, y'all, I said The Matrix, so y'all already know how much action is in that. So definitely a mystery story with a lot of action in it.
Like espionage action or like Jet Li action?
Knowing me, I would combine it.
But of course.
I would combine it. And the other thing is I'm also a huge anime, comics, and fantasy fan. So like I'm all for people with powers that can like levitate and stuff, you know what I mean? Which is why The Matrix was such a great story for me, because you saw that, but there was still a bit of grounding. There was a believable reason as to why somebody could dodge bullets or stop them. You know what I mean? There was a grounded reason as to why. So it made sense.
Mm-hmm. So do you think about your reader when you're writing, or listener as the case may be?
For my nonfiction stuff, definitely. For the fiction stuff, for the works I've done so far, I had not, with the exception of the book I co-authored called Faded Diamonds. I co-authored that with two ladies who are masters in social work. They have their licenses and everything. And shout out to Camille and Stacy, love y'all. They had vignettes or cases that they wanted to put in a book, obviously without revealing identities, but they wanted to use the stories as cautionary tales and as educational pieces for anybody that would read it, because they wanted to drop the stigma of mental illness and, chemical imbalances in people, particularly people of color, women of color, because this story follows 5 women. And so they brought the backstories to me because they knew I had the film background and I had already published my first book. So they were like, what can we do with this? We want to make a book, but what can we do with this? And I was like, I got you. And just as y'all heard the scenario with me being in the cage, that book did not come out as a for colored women only. You know, the Tyler Perry thing. It's similar to that. But because I'm such a movie head, there was some action to it.
Oh boy.
There was some action to it. So if you're familiar with, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Vantage Point, LD, but
I live under a rock, so I'm going to probably say no to most things if I've ever heard or seen. If
got
if
you.
it didn't happen before 1996, I'm gonna probably be like, mm-mm.
Mm-mm, I got you. So not too much action. It wasn't Matrix level action, but just to give you a brief overview and for you listening, Vantage Point follows the events leading up to an assassination. I want to say it was a presidential assassination. And what they did was they started at the explosive event. It opens with that. And then from there, it goes all the way backwards. And then you follow multiple different storylines. From one storyline, you're seeing the police officer or the detective. From another storyline, you're seeing the one or two people that were connected to the president and what they were doing to cause that hole or breach in his protection. And then you're watching like a couple of other feds that were there. And then you're seeing it also from the audience's perspective. So that is exactly how Faded Diamonds is written. There is a inciting incident, like a big thing that happens in the beginning, and then it goes backwards. And you see how all five women, the backstories that the ladies wanted me to cover, because all five of them were in that room. So the story goes backwards and you follow all five of them and you see their backstories.
So I get it. You're like the English teacher I wish I had when I was
Thank
in
you.
school. Like, yeah. So I like how you think.
Hmm.
So here's a test,
Okay.
or we can call it a quiz if that takes the edge off. So you actually know me, like the real me, like right here.
Yep.
And I'm coming to you because I need you to ghostwrite something for me.
Cool.
Call it my literary alter ego. I've already
Okay.
done that one, but that's
You
what I
have.
just, yeah. But hey, we can have two. It could be like part two. Forget part one because most of the sequels suck anyway. So,
You're
because the
reintroducing
part
yourself.
one, yeah. So let's start over. Okay, good. What's my process with you?
Sure. So, firstly, obviously, exploratory call. I ask you the questions. What do you want the readers to come away with? You know, what are your ideas and expectations for the book? Getting to those questions, pulling that information out of you, what your expectations are, what you want me to be doing, because we got to get clear on that. And then from there, I'm like, all right, what is your schedule? Because as a ghostwriter, there has to be a frequency of communication with the author. So typically for me, it's weekly. So I would get on their schedule, like, hey, what day of the week? Typically 1 hour call. And I'm asking questions to pull their story out of them. Or sometimes they're very clear. Sometimes the author is very clear on what they want to say, and they're simply dictating to me, like, I want you to say this. And you know, and that is the process from there. Once that part is completed, once the interview portion is completed, I'm doing all of this in a Google Doc that is shared with the author so they can constantly see my progress. So they can constantly see my progress. There's the Google Doc with the notes, just the raw notes. And then I ask them, like, if there are any changes, if there's anything that is inaccurate, please let me know. Add a comment, go in there and change it yourself, up to you. But they have that autonomy to do that. That way, we're both on the same page as to what they want included. Then I'll create another Google Doc with the fleshed out prose with the actual manuscript. So they're seeing how it's developing. It's up to them how often they want to click in there and look at it. I recommend, like, I do it quarterly with them. For
Mm,
ghostwriting, for me, the projects are usually 6 months. So it could be a quarterly thing. It could be every 2 months if they're comfortable with that. But
got
yeah,
it.
constant
Got it.
communication.
So somebody in the chat really is thinking, like, you've not started to type yet, but your mind is going now. And you're like, I have a story. If you
Hmm.
have a story, just go ahead and put, I have a story to tell. You have a story. Type it in the chat. I have a story to tell. And I'm just going to take a pause right here because I'm going to ask you another question in a second, Mellissa.
Hmm.
So go ahead and keep typing. I have a story to tell. All right. Da, 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 da. We're not gonna get a copyright knock on that one because
I
I'm
feel
using
you.
my own voice. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And you have a voice. So if you have a story and you've already typed that, that's fine. And I want you to type if you have a voice. Do you have a voice? If you do, then type I have a voice. Okay. Keep on typing. Keep on typing or using your two thumbs. Like if you use your two thumbs, is that the same as typing?
Technically, it is. It's a digital keyboard, but it is.
Oh man, I never thought of that. You
Yeah.
see, you bring the best out of me. Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah. Okay.
iron sharpens
Okay.
iron.
You have a you have a voice, you have a story, and then if you need to tell it,
Oh, that's
go
good.
ahead and type that in the chat. I need to tell it. Please type that in the chat. This is not
Hmm.
an aimless exercise. I need to tell it. So, Mellissa, you have already said you're an author. We know you're a writer, a ghostwriter, and an editor, and some
Hmm.
most stuff. You're a playwright too? Did I ask you that
Yes,
before?
correct.
You're and a playwright.
Yes.
Perfect. So when you're working for other people, how do you preserve their voice? When you have a like you have a voice, you actually have multiple voices, but they're yours. How do you preserve theirs?
This is where the constant communication comes in. That's why it's so important, particularly with the ghostwriting thing, which is why I had that Google Doc, because I want them to be able to see the progress. And if for whatever reason I glitch and then my voice starts showing up in there, they, they can point it out and say, wait, like rephrase that. So far, the beauty of it is I can say this with humility and gratitude. I have not had that problem. So
Mhm.
far, all the folks that I have ghostwritten for, written plays with, that's never been an issue. Um, but yeah, it's the constant communication. I'm someone who's big on collaboration,
Mhm.
big on collaboration. So I love to get the author's feedback, or if it's a play and it's a team of us working on it, constant collaboration. I usually facilitate it by asking I'm turning every facet of this thing. Like, all right,
Gotcha.
how does this, what are your thoughts on this? I tweaked this so it can flow better because I'm always and forever the grammarian, no matter what I'm doing. However, there are times, and I'm sure you've encountered this too, LD. There are times when the grammatically correct way to say something isn't quite the author's voice.
It's just not gonna work. Oh,
It's
did I
not
just
gonna
do
work.
that? It's
Yes,
not
you
gonna
did.
work.
It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. So there are times when you have to ask that. You have to double check.
Yeah, that's good. That's very good because it's true. I mean, I have a client or two whose
Hmm.
grammar, you know, not so much. But if you're accustomed to hearing these people's voices, then if they get too fixed, then you'll
Yeah,
know something's amiss here. Like, what in the world?
exactly.
What just happened? Okay, so you've already typed in the chat a few things, and you need to go to the next stage. By now, you would have already seen that Melissa's hosting a conference very soon, and maybe that's not the right word. You'll correct me in a second if it's not. But
Mm.
it's an experience to help people who need to get their stories out.
Yeah.
And I'm honored to even know about this, to be honest. It's a big deal because people have somehow forgotten. It's almost a lost art to do what we're doing when we're writing and anything related to it. It's almost a lost art because people think the machine can do it for them. And it's just like, well, it's not the same. It literally is not the same. So tell us a little bit about that, and then I'll talk to you about some more things.
Sure. So it's a retreat, the Spring Forward Writers
My
Retreat.
bad.
No, you're good. You're good. And I named it that because I did want it to be a more intimate thing. A conference is typically big, you know. You talking at least 50 to 100 people, sometimes more than that. God bless the people that can do it bigger. But for when you're talking about facilitating the process of someone literally completing their book in a weekend, that has to be a retreat because they need to be able to focus. And so, yeah, Spring Forward Writers Retreat is going to be 3 days and 3 nights. And so we're doing a little bit of teaching, but the concentration of it is the actual production of the book. Whether you're somebody that wants to dictate it, which is the cheat code, that's the way to get it done the fastest, or you're somebody that prefers to type. We have our cheat code for you too, in terms of that, so that by the time you come, there's still time for you to finish it and walk away with your completed manuscript.
That's good. So how do people sign up for this?
Sure, they'll go to springforwardretreat.com. You can sign up there, get your spot. Seats are limited because, like I said, it's intimate.
Mhm.
And this is Black History Month, so by all means, use that coupon code BHM to get 20% off. Like most people do 10% LDH. I was like, 10% isn't much of a discount. So I
That's
did
good.
20% off, yeah. And what I love about February and March together is that they're both history months. And
Mm.
so February is Black History Month. March is Women's History Month, which is why that date was so important to me. Like the Holy Spirit gave me that date, like the March 15th, and then we built the experience around the 15th. But March is Women's History Month, and we're reaching out to Gen X women to use their voice to get those books out of them so that they can make history. You can make history
Ooh,
yourself. You
wait a
can be a
minute.
part of that yourself.
I've never heard this one before. That's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
it's important.
Yeah. All right. So I want you to dream a little before I'm done with you.
Okay.
Because we could do this all day. I promise you. I could ask you about 18 more questions, but I won't. But whether published or unpublished, whether you as a ghostwriter or the author writer of your own stuff,
Mhm.
you don't need to tell us the title necessarily, but tell us a little bit about your most memorable. Like for
Ooh.
you, I don't mean
Mhm.
what people think. I mean the other people, meaning Mellissa, what she thinks.
The most
Yeah.
memorable.
Yeah. Even if it was because of the process, it could have been where you were when you were writing or conceptualizing before you started to write or
Mhm.
what drove you to the pen that time. Anything. But it was
Sure.
most memorable. It's just like when they talk to me about writing, this thing pops up.
Yeah, the immediate thing that pops up for me is my very first book, From a Babe. Hold on a second. I think I have the copy of it here.
You about to pick it up.
I'm about
Like,
to pick it up.
I am
So,
so glad you asked.
can you
Dun
tell
dun
this is
dun.
self-created?
Don't ask me anything. I won't tell you anything.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But what makes this book so memorable to me, LDH, is that it was me and the Holy Spirit. Like he said, I want you to write a devotional because at the time I was like freshly learning about the word. Like I got saved at 13, but unfortunately wasn't really reading the word like that until about the age of 26. And then once I reached the age of 26, got into a local church. And then this is a church that values both parts of the Great Commission, the evangelism, the going out and telling people about Jesus, and discipleship, both. Like there's some churches that only focus on the evangelism, they leave the discipleship out, and it's like, yeah, that's why people get lost. But anyway, so because of the discipleship, which is what my soul was so hungry for, I became a sponge, a biblical sponge. And since I was learning so much, God was like, okay, it's time for you to put that out. Like share with the world what you have learned in the word, because he was already giving me that opportunity within my church to facilitate Bible studies sometimes, like as maybe like a substitute facilitator when the main person was gone. And I realized how fun that was, like to be able to go over scripture, ask questions of the people in the room. And there were times when something about the way I phrase something, like awakened something in them or helped them realize something. And so God was like, yeah, it's your turn to do that. Like, it's your turn to produce something. And he walked me
And
through that
that you
process.
did.
Yeah. And the system he walked me through is now the system I can use to walk anyone else through getting their book done. And what he did for me, which made my Bible study unique, my devotional unique, was that since I was already a poet and had already written so much, he said, this is a 52-week devotional, put your poetry in there. So at the end of all 52 devotional entries is an original poem from me.
Ooh,
That's relevant to the text. Yeah.
that's good. We
So,
actually have more in common than I knew.
yes, sir.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
That is so good. So good. Well, hey, thank you for letting me take over this airplane. I'm going to go back into the cabin and
Okay.
take my hands off. So thank you. And let me just say right before I do, because I'm still flying. I'm still flying. I'm still
Mm-hmm.
flying this plane. Real
Mm-hmm.
quick, if you did say in the chat that I need to, that I have a story, that I have a voice, I need to get my story out, and whatever else I said, because I just made it up, then I need you to hit that link that Mellissa T shared. Tell us one more time, Mellissa, and then I'm going to go back and sit in my seat, put my seatbelt on, and let you do what you do.
Awesome. Springforwardretreat.com. You'll see the link in the description. So you'll be able to click on that and grab your spot because time is running out. Remember, we all about beating procrastination. So don't procrastinate any further on this. Let's get that book out of you. But thank you very much, LDH,
Yeah.
for being the pilot.
Yeah. So I'm getting up out of here. I'm going to go sit back in the back. And if you have something else you want to say to me, I'm still here. I'm just saying, I'm not the pilot anymore.
Absolutely. So yeah, very briefly, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not afraid to let this particular cat out of the bag, but this brilliant gentleman shall be there at the writer's retreat. Yes.
Who,
Cue
me?
all of the applause. Cue all of the applause
What?
and the confetti and the beer, 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 you know what I mean? The vuvuzela, like all of that. Because I thought there was no better person to glean from than LD, given the fact that he has so much experience as a writer author, as he described it. He's someone who writes quite a lot, y'all. Like, he ain't no baby writer, okay? He's like,
Y'all pray for me.
you know what I'm saying? And this is the beauty of having a bookshelf, okay? I am pleased and delighted to say that
Ooh,
I
look
own
at
a
that.
copy of his latest book, The Backbone of Leadership, which is awesome.
Yay.
Yes, indeed. So, this is someone who is a prolific author, and even more than that, he is a publisher. So, this is someone who owns his own publishing company and can show you the ropes of what you're going to need in terms of your next steps. I'm here to guide you on getting the book done. But once you have the manuscript, I'm not setting you free to the rest of your existence with like, oh yay, now I have a rough draft. Now what? No. Like we're going to help you through the next steps of your book in terms of publication. All of the expectations a publisher has, what they're going to ask you, what they're looking for, the supplies you're going to need, because it's not enough to just slap a book together. Like there are other components to it. And LD can also explain to you and you heard this if you listen to our previous interview together, there are different branches off of your book. Your book can be a source of revenue or a business model if you want it to be. And he can talk to you about like those different peripheral things that you can create off of one piece of IP.
Yeah, no joke. I was actually born into a publishing family. I don't know if I've ever told you that part, Mellissa.
I don't think you did.
Yeah, so my dad was in publishing when I was born. I was born in the early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Early. He was already in publishing. And then in the 90s, my mother started working for a publishing department and then for a historic magazine, a historic Black magazine. I wrote for that magazine for 26 straight years. And I worked even some of the time while I had my own publishing company. I've worked for 4 different actual traditional publishing companies. So like publishing is literally in my blood. Literally in my blood. And I'm an author first. And so my advocacy is for authors first. That's my perspective. And so I'm looking forward to sharing and giving people the action items that they need for whichever direction they choose to go. But they're going to go in with their eyes wide open.
Facts.
For that part of the process. So I can't wait. I'm not giving it away because you gave them a link. I'm not giving it away. So I'm just not say nothing else.
Exactly. But yeah, if no other reason, come for that. Like that alone is worth the price of admission. So again, springforwardretreat.com. Get your ticket. Do not procrastinate. Use the promo code BHM for 20% off for the month of February. So ASAP, y'all. ASAP. I love that song.
I'll send it to you.
Appreciate that. And what's interesting is that is so accurate. Like those words are very accurate. That's literally how it feels. Particularly when I'm writing fiction, that's literally how it feels. So facts.
Go.
Thank you for that. All right. So LD, appreciate your time. Thank you for flying the plane.
No problem.
For a while
No problem. We up in here.
Always, we up in here. You are always welcome back, bro. Thank you so much. How did you like the switch up? Did you enjoy LDH's interview of me? And how insightful were those questions? How insightful were those answers for you? Comment below, let me know. And of course, again, a reminder, be sure to go to springforwardretreat.com if you want to get your spot. Time is running out, so don't procrastinate, okay? And also, just as a reminder, be sure to subscribe if you're loving this podcast, or even if this is your first episode and you want more, subscribe here at Getting the Win on YouTube. And you can follow me on Pinterest, Threads, and Instagram at Getting the Win Show. All right. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday and have a great rest of your week. Peace.